All right then. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session. I'm Bhavesh from the SwiftEnterprise product management team. It's great to see our customers joining in for this session today. We hope all of you are safe and healthy during these tough times. We at Digite are trying to do our bit to ease your project management struggles by continuously delivering capabilities to drive agile transformation in your organizations with the power of AI. Before we begin, some housekeeping. I would like to assure you that the webinar is being recorded and it will be made available to all those who had registered for the session. We will also be loading it on our YouTube channel, so you can also subscribe to our Digite YouTube channel to get regular updates about our products and also watch insightful webinars we have with leading industry practitioners. And we would certainly love to hear from you today. So if you have any questions or feedback for any of the features that we go over today, then please submit them in the Q&A section and we will take those up towards the end of the session. So today we'll be looking at all that is new as part of the 7.2 release, but I would like to take a few minutes to share why and how we have been working diligently in building capabilities over the past 2 or 3 years, specifically focused on empowering your agile transformation journey. And there's no better way to start with the basics, right? So we will quickly go over the building blocks of how a typical work item should be for you to be able to reap the benefits of working in an agile manner. So one of the key differences between traditional ways of executing the projects that in a sense are a must if you are doing agile is that the work items that are flowing to the team are small in size, they are independent of one another, and they are tested as one unit, and of course they deliver value to the customers. These 4 things are absolutely critical, and let me clarify about these a little more. Small, generally are talking of having a life cycle for the work item. It goes from design to development to test, automation, between 2 to 3 days, and generally less than a week. And why do we say it should be less than a week? Because the sprint cycles itself are going to be 1 to 2 weeks. So you need to finish these items, a sizable number of items, so that you are able to deliver enough value as part of the sprint to get the feedback from the customer. The second important point is that it must be independent. So in a sense, it should be shippable on its own. It should not require probably 10 other cards for it to be working in the desired manner. Because if we do that, we are back to the olden days and lose the ability to be nimble and to do a whole lot of integration, system testing, multiple iterations of testing to ensure that if all of these items are working cohesively and giving the right outcome for the end user. And we will specifically wouldn't recommend going the way wherein the front end and the back end are getting developed separately, because again, you will not be able to get the complete feedback from the customers if you are delivering just half the value or partial value here. On the testable, yes, by making the single work item testable on its own, we are putting the complete ownership of the quality on the work being done squarely on the work item itself. I mean, there is no ambiguity on whether this small and independent piece of work is having good quality or not. And owing to the short cycle time for each of these work items, it becomes imperative that whatever is being tested is fully automated. We cannot get into a situation wherein other sprints are doing manual testing and just to confirm what was built in previous sprint is working properly in this one, again adding to the overall cycle time. So of course we will have to have some layer of integration testing and system testing, but as much as possible we should have the unit testing covered as part of the work item itself. And last but not the least, it is to have due to the customer. So remember, only when the customer sees something of value, he will be able to understand how it is meeting its overall business needs and provide that feedback on what has been built. Otherwise, if he just, as we said, if he just sees a screen but not able to interact and figure out how the outcome is going to be, the feedback will not be constructive either. So how do we ensure that this gets followed as part of the tool? So story mapping module is the classic and proven method to ensure that your work items are small, independent, testable, and valuable. It has these three levels, which are adequate in most cases to get most of the work done, and they are built with the user persona and perspective. So you are always thinking about business value it will deliver to that persona, and you're breaking that requirement into steps in the second level and eventually into the user stories in the third level. So these three levels are typically themes, epics, and user stories, or you may also call it capabilities, features, or user stories. And once you have that in place, you can assign them for the upcoming sprint so that the MVP also related as part of the story map itself. So overall, the story mapping module is a beautiful way to help you break down the requirements and also prioritize in a very visual manner. So once you have the backlog generated with the high level prioritization to the story map itself, it's important to groom them and make them ready for the team. The backlog refinement that we have allows you to do just that. So you get the complete visibility of the work items that are present in the backlog, the ones that are groomed, and eventually you are able to prioritize a set of them and do the sprint planning. So sprint planning can be done using the standard approach of having the velocity in perspective, uh, but you may not take this approach if simply based on the estimates of the team. So once the sprint planning is done, we have the capabilities that are going to allow you to execute them in a lean agile manner. So for this, we have industry-leading Kanban boards that embrace the lean agile thinking at its core. So here you are able to build a value stream that have the capability to have nested columns, apply WIP limits, and ensure work continues to flow at the most optimal pace. And the standard wizards enable the agile ceremony. So the work done by each team member speaks for itself as we present it on the value stream board, and together they can assess how well they are performing as a team with the help of zoom levels and direct visibility of the burn down chart. And to wrap it up with industry leading metrics, so the burn down chart not only highlights the remaining work, but also highlights the scope of work that might get spilled over if the team continues to work at the current pace, and also highlights the scope creep if that has contributed to the additional remaining effort for the team. Along with these, we have the test pyramid widget that help you assess in a visual manner if you are doing the right amount of automation in each layer. And we have the dial chart as well that helps you keep track of the leak defect density for the past releases. This, along with the standard dashboard pages that we have for sprint, where you get to see the sprint burn down chart, the sprint velocity for releases, where you get to see the release burn up chart, the value versus non-value added comparison, and finally the quality metrics as well. So while these new world-class lean agile capabilities continue to power your agile transformation journey, we understand executing across multiple projects and multiple hierarchy levels requires a different toolkit. So as part of this release, we are focused to help you scale your agile execution with many new features that enable you to build the desired work hierarchy and across projects. Also, there are multiple ways to track their progress so that you can choose the best fit approach for each work type and visualize their progress on the value stream board itself. In essence, these new capabilities help you tailor and manage the agile execution of agile programs as per your organizational needs. And as part of our AI initiative, we have revamped our bot trainer so that you can continue to harness the power of AI to generate training examples and also effectively track as well as fine-tune the bot performance. Along with these, we have enhanced other areas of the application so that continue to get the best out of them. So with that as our agenda, let's get started with the demo about all these updates which are part of the 7.0 release. So first up, we'll look at the new hierarchy visualization. So as we saw earlier, the best way to go about creating these work items is with the help of the story map. So what I've done here is I've already created a story map which has themes which have been added into the program board. The epics have been created into the product management board, and the user stories have been created into the development board. Now this hierarchy has been built through the story map, but I've ensured that each of these card types have been mapped to the respective projects as part of the story map configuration itself. Now let's see how the hierarchy looks like inside one of the themes hierarchy visualization. So here I've opened up one of the themes, and as you can see, you have the epics and the user stories neatly stacked below each other. While this is a visualization wherein you can look at all the cards in the hierarchy, you can also make modifications to the hierarchy as well. So if in case there is a need that you have to go beyond what you had originally planned as part of the story map, you can go ahead and add an epic or a user story right from here as well. So what I would do is I will click on one of the overflow menu icons for this theme, and you can see all the options available to add a new parent or an existing parent, or add a child card, or add an existing card as a child card. So I'll select this option for now, wherein I'll select the product management board, and I'll select epics which I would like to add as part of this theme. So for now I'll just select the first one. You will be able to see both the epics as well as the user stories that belong to those epics. Now it could become a little difficult to view the entire hierarchy. As you are seeing here, you have to do a lot of scrolling if the number of items increase as part of the hierarchy. So what we have done in order to address that is, if you're wanting to focus on one of the hierarchy, you can simply collapse. Along with that, we have also provided zoom levels for these cards. So you can simply change the zoom level. And if you're still wanting to look at these cards in a card visualization, you can still do that with other zoom levels. Along with that, we have also given the list view option, so that if you're more comfortable using the list view wherein all the details are laid out neatly as part of a tabular format, that option is also available. So you can see the themes, the epics, and the user stories which are part of those epics. And the same options that you had in the card hierarchy visualization, the same options are available here as well. So you can add a child, new one, existing one, and you also get complete visibility of uh, to which project these items belong, along with their position on the board. So you get to see the lane and columns as well for each of these items. Now, while this is the information that is available for the hierarchy visualization, we have also made this visualization available for our traceability view as well. So as you may have noticed, I'm inside the link card segment for the theme. Now, link card segment was the traceability segment prior to 7.2 release that we renamed into link cards. Now the link cards has parent-child links as well as the traditional links or the traceability links, as we call it, as part of link card segment itself. So to look at how the visualization has changed for the traceability view, let me just open one of the cards here, and you will see that I'll switch to the traceability view. So the release, sprint, uh, the test cases, and a bug is what has been traced to this user story so far. And that's how the traceability view will come up, where the cards are equally divided on each side of the card. And you will also have the list view option here as well. So that's how the traceability view has also been enhanced along with the hierarchy view as we saw here. Uh, Now, one of the things that we need to keep in mind is we understand prior to 7.2 release, you were working with a hierarchy view that was restricted to theme and epics, and they were driven via the theme and epic drop downs on the user story itself. So we understand that you may have made certain assumptions and customizations based on the drop-down based behavior. So we are continuing that in the 7.0 release as so that it doesn't affect your current usage in any way. However, if you would like to transition to this new hierarchical view wherein you would want to make it flexible with the use of other card types, or if you would want to add to the hierarchy, so you can certainly do so by getting in touch with our support team, and they will help you transition to this new approach. So to quickly summarize, we saw here is that we can create parent-child hierarchy between items which are across projects with the help of the new hierarchy visualization here. We also looked at the new traceability visualization so that you get to see the traceability as well in a similar fashion. And most importantly, behavior prior to 7.0 version was based on attributes of theme and epic. So if you would want to continue with that, the hierarchy links between theme, epic, and user stories and technical stories will continue to get created via the attributes themselves. However, if you would want to transition wherein you would like to have work items belonging to different projects to be part of this hierarchy, or make the hierarchy more flexible to have more levels or different card types as part of the hierarchy, you would need to transition to this new approach with the help of our support team. So we would encourage you to evaluate it thoroughly before you decide to transition to this new approach. With that, let's look at the next section wherein we are going to see how the progress of the card types, the hierarchy levels can be tracked effectively. Now we have built the hierarchy as we wanted it to be. It's important to keep track of the progress at each of those levels as well. So for that, we have introduced a bunch of preferences based on which you can decide how the progress should get computed. Now, this preference setting is available for each of the card types. In this case, I have opened it for the user story card type, and you can go ahead and decide which of these preferences suit the card type most and make a selection accordingly. So what we have done is we have introduced a couple of fields on the Agile work items that is going to help you keep track of the cards person complete as well as the progress that child cards have made so far. So these are the two fields that will help you keep track of the overall progress. Options which are available based on the number of tools that have been completed, or based on the actual effort that has been logged against the to-dos of those work items. And also you can go ahead and make a selection of manual if you feel that you would rather have it updated manually. Now if you select child person complete for your card type, what it would do is it will refer to the preference which has been set for the child card person complete. So in this case, it will be based on the number of child cards which are completed. So that typically is the case when you're looking at hierarchy items like themes or epics. You can also make a choice to have it based on the number of to-dos completed on the child cards or the amount of effort that has been completed against the child cards. So these are the options that are available so that the person progress that you have on the card gets updated on these fields as well. So we looked at how you can keep track of the person complete and the child person complete using these preferences. Now, as I said, these preferences are available for each of the card types. However, one important note I would like to add here is that since person complete computation is important from the hierarchy point of view, and child cards getting completed will contribute to the percentage completion of their parent cards, it's important that when we close a parent card, having open child cards, we also close the child cards as well. So you will see this kind of a pop-up coming up wherein if you are trying to close the theme in this case, and there are certain epics or even user stories which are part of those epics which are open, then it will seek your confirmation, because this is going to close all the two on the cards, all the child cards, also publish all the logged effort against those to-dos, and set the person complete attributes to 100% across that hierarchy level to ensure that the person complete computation is accurate and in sync with the entire hierarchy. So this is how you will have to provide a confirmation whenever you're about to close a parent card which has open child cards. So moving on with our next feature, wherein we will look at how you can visualize the work progress on the execution board as well. So for that, again, let me switch back to the application. So I'm inside my board editor, and the reason I've opened up the board editor is there's no better place to visualize the progress that your work items are making than the value stream itself. So up until now, you have been able to visualize the progress for user stories or other work items that you generally tag to a release or sprint. But now you will also be able to do so for themes and epics, which have been converted into agile work items. So in order to visualize them on the board, since these are parent cards, their progress will continue to get updated based on the progress made by the child cards. So what we have done is we've introduced a new person progress column as part of the value stream board itself. So you can select any of the columns here and click edit. So this is the option which will be available so that you can designate it as the person progress column. As we saw earlier, there are a couple of fields which are going to have the person progress shown on the card. So you can decide to have the progress shown either on the basis of the card person complete or the child card person complete. Now, in this case, I've already done that for my themes. And as you can see, a percentage progress scale has come up onto the board. So I've already added the themes onto the board here. And depending upon the progress complete that these cards have, they are visible on the board. So the person progress is not only visible on a scale, but also on the person progress icon on top of these cards. So you are able to see this progress is based on to-dos completed in this case, and you can also make it based on the child person complete or other preferences that we saw earlier. So you get a complete visualization of how the themes or epics are progressing based on the completion of the child cards or based on the preference that has been selected for the card person complete. Now, if you drag and drop a new theme here, it will automatically be placed depending upon the person progress the theme has. And if it is 100% complete, it will directly go inside the done column, which is part of this column here. So along with this, we have also enhanced the overall card layout as well. So let me just show you how it has been updated. Under the card settings, when you select the design option for any of the card types, you can make a choice of any of the fields that should be part of the card. And you also now have the option to select which are the actions that should be present upfront on the card, or any of the flags that should be present upfront on the card. So these options are going to be available. We have also introduced the tags field so that you can quickly enter tags against the work item without having to rely on the custom fields always to be able to filter cards based on certain attributes. So that's another change that has been made as part of the overall design and visualization for the card layout. And once you have configured the relevant set of attributes, actions, and flags that should be available upfront on the card itself, we have also updated the way in which you can bring cards onto the board. So up until now, as I said, you had to tag it to a release for it to be seen onto the board, but we have let go of that restriction. So you can bring any card onto the board which may or may not be tagged to the release. So that is going to open up the horizon for you to be able to use the value stream to plan and groom your higher level cards as well. So you can bring in the theme and epics, and if you have a value stream set for them, you can use that, and you can add them onto the board in this manner. So the add functionality from the board has been enhanced so that you can directly add any of these cards onto the board directly, whether it's a new one or an existing item. What it would do is it will allow you to look at all the items which are currently not onto the board, and it will also allow you to use the standard filters and sorting to look for the relevant items. So I just want to look at the cards which are relevant to version 22, I would like to bring those cards onto the board, and I can select the relevant release, select all of these cards and save, and these cards will get added onto the board. So we looked at how you can visualize the progress that your themes and epics or other work items are making using the person progress column capability as part of the value stream board itself. You can look at the overall person progress for the card using the new person complete icon. You can drag and drop any of these attributes onto the card, as well as select which actions and flags should be available on the card up front. And finally, we looked at how you can go ahead and add certain cards onto the board without having to tag release to them. So this is probably one of the changes in behavior that you will experience after upgrading to 7.0. So keep this in mind, that whenever you would like to bring cards onto the board, you will have to make use of the add card feature on the execution board itself. So moving on to the new bot trainer that we have. Earlier, the bot trainer was part of the administration workspace itself, but now you will see a new button as part of the bot trainer configuration inside the administration workspace. The moment you click on the bot trainer, you will see the new Chiron-based bot trainer that we have developed. Now here is where you will have complete visibility of all the intents, the training examples, and the responses that you would like it to have. So for example, in this dropdown, you have list of all the intents that are part of the product right now, and you can go ahead and create new intents as well. Of course, the intent creation would be limited to the non-action intents, wherein you can provide standard responses that that can be given based on the user references. So as an example here, I've selected the customer support as one of the intents, and you have different ways in which the customer could try to reach you for support. And one of the things that we have done so that the training becomes easier is that take help of the AI algorithms to generate more training examples. So you can fill in 10, 15 or more examples as part of the intent training, but you can select any of these training examples and say generate training example, and it will generate a variation of ways in which the same question or the same user reference can happen. So you can make a selection of these options, and they will now become part of the training data set as well. So every time the user asks a question, they will end up getting the same response. Of course, you will have to ensure that you train the bot first with this new training data in order to receive that same response. Also, once the training is done and the bot is interacting with the users, you will get to see a complete list of interaction, and you can make a selection of any of those chats and decide whether you would want to remap certain uh, user utterances. So for example, we have provided an option here which is going to highlight responses by the bot which are having a low confidence score. So again, using AI algorithms, we are going to decide that whether the response given by the bot was appropriate or not, and on a scale of 0 to 1 they will be rated, and you can decide to look at only those and ensure that if I have, in this case, how to add a card, I will make an appropriate selection of intent. So you can save that and again retrain it for you to be able to get the right responses for the same user references next time. So we looked at the new UI for the bot trainer and how you can go ahead and fine tune its performance by mapping it to the relevant intents and generate more training examples much easily. Now, apart from these, we have done a lot of other enhancements on the usability front. So for the external work request module that we have here, you can now go ahead and add a external work request directly from your web Outlook as well. You simply need to sideload our new app, and that will be available for you to create a or generate an external work request. So the mail content already automatically becomes a part of your external work request being generated. Along with that, we have given you option to set up the external work request for specific email addresses so that you can use it to set up polls, surveys for specific audiences, and only those will be able to fill in those forms. And also, just like our previous releases, we have extended our capability to pre-populate some of the drop-down fields based on all your business needs. So you can add configuration as part of the external work request to ensure that certain fields are automatically populated whenever the form opens up for the end user. Along with that, what we have also done is we have enhanced the story mapping board, some of the usability enhancements that we have done so that the additional pop-ups do not come up. We have made it more modern in line with the material UI standards. And of course, since now you will be able to bring in a whole lot of new card types onto the board, we have given you the option to have a default board lane for each card type. So you can have a different swim lane configured for each of your card types and ensure the card type automatically gets added into that lane without having you to drag and drop them specifically into that lane. There are whole new enhancements and features that are part of this release. I may not have covered every single change here as part of the webinar, but you can certainly go through the release notes to ensure that you have the complete understanding of the changes that are part of this release and how it may impact your existing implementations as well, or existing usage as well. So please make sure you go over the release notes as well. And if in case you have any questions, feedback, do feel free to reach out to us. All right, so that's all we had for the session today. Have a nice day. Thank you.